Today on Rambling About Cars, a new sports sedan has arrived. An existing sports sedan might be going away. A Dodge pickup truck breaks our website, baby. And then we're going to get into some 80s love with an awesome cheap car challenge that always ends in surprises and hurt feelings. So, Retro Racers, it's podcast time. I'm Christopher Smith. Across the way is Mr. Chris Bruce.
Hey, yeah.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for this. I'm pumped. Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's jump right in. Want to start with a new sports sedan? Yeah, let's start with a new sports sedan.
And we'll start with the what's going away.
That can segue maybe what's going away. It's just a rumor, but we can talk about that here in a bit. I've got
bad feelings, but
I got bad feelings too. Let's talk about the good feelings though. Let's talk about the new Audi RS3.
Exactly.
Do you got some info on that? You want to start us off?
So I'm going to pull up a picture here for us real quick.
Okay.
Can you vamp for me for just a half second? And
absolutely.
Okay. So there we go. So that is
what
we're looking at here is the new Audi RS3, and that I don't know what Audi specifically calls this color. Everyone that we talk to calls it Hulk green.
That's really, it
looks like it's available on other models, but it looks fantastic on everything they put it on. Like it's just so, it's like slightly menacing, but it's also slightly goofy. It's a good color.
It is. And I'm not a person who likes green, and I think this looks great. And folks, am I the only one that wants to take just some tattered denim and kind of wrap it around
put it on the rear fenders,
just the rear fenders a little bit, and just drive around with some of the big Hulk hands. And with Audi's current design language, it has that kind of mean, aggressive look. People have heard me complain about big grills since we've been doing Rambling About Cars. And for me, it works. It works with Audi.
I don't think it's over the top is the thing. There's no, if there was a big wing or big stupid diffuser or something like that on it, it would ruin it. So there's something I've heard in regards to women's clothing that you should either show kind of a lot of the top or a lot of the bottom, but not both, because then it kind of looks bad. And Audi kind of does that here, where they have that really aggressive front end, but then the back end is it's vaguely understated. It doesn't look too bad. And so it all it's coherent. But yeah, speaking of the Hulk, this thing has kind of hulking power. It's got what is now kind of the very familiar, the 2.5 liter inline five that has been, I didn't look, but I got it. That engine's been around for probably coming up on a decade, I would bet. 8 years.
It's been around. It's been around a while, and you know what? It can stick around. There isn't anything else that sounds like an inline five,
right?
People would argue, well, a V10, you'll get a little bit of that sound with a V10, but that i5, that growl, every time I hear it, I'm taken back to the 80s, to the Killer
That's
Bees.
The thing. Audi is kind of associated with the i5 because that's what was in the Quattro and stuff like that. So an i5 Audi makes sense. It works for them. So in this application, and this is interesting, it goes back to what we were talking about the Golf R last week. In this application, the United States is getting it with 401 horsepower. Everywhere else, Europe particularly, gets it with 394 horsepower.
Nah. Sorry, but that was really tasteless of me.
Well, it is, but remember we were talking about the Golf R, where they had to detune the Golf R. We're getting the Golf R with less torque, but somehow we can get the RS3 with more power.
Yeah.
And they said it was fuel quality, so I don't know how the fuel quality in an Audi is different than Volkswagen, but
it must be the difference of cylinders. That has to be it.
Let's pretend that's the answer.
I hadn't even thought about that, Bruce. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was a little conspiracy theory-ish last week. Is that a word, conspiracy theory-ish?
Of course it is.
I'm a writer. I just
made it.
It's a word now. I was a little conspiracy theory-ish last week about what Volkswagen was trying to say or not say. This is a good example. So, why isn't the RS3 down on power?
Why is it up on power? It's not down on power. It's up on power. It's like what?
Right.
7 horsepower
why is it up
over
on
the
power?
European version.
Why is it not? Yeah. So, you know what? Maybe we're splitting hairs. Maybe we should just talk about the good stuff. Yeah. 401 horsepower. It's 394 horsepower elsewhere. Yep. 369 pound-feet of torque. So, it's not going to be slow. They say 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in I gotta look at my notes. 3.8 seconds.
Yep.
0 to 62, 3.8 seconds.
And
That's
it's
not
worth
slow.
and it's worth noting. So this is the same engine that was in the previous gen RS3 in the United States that arrived in. I got to look here. It's either 2016 or 2017. 2017. But so power is up. The old one made that 394 horsepower, but torque is up at pretty significantly. And you know what? As I'm talking about this, there it is. So 354 pound-feet of torque in the old one, and 369? Yeah, 369 in the new one. So, 15 pound-feet. That's no one's going to be upset with more torque. So,
no,
especially from the same engine.
And I'm going to have a little bit of a hot take here. We've talked about it before. I know our managing editor Brandon Turkis has mentioned it before. 400, 500 horsepower. I mean, that's kind of like a sweet spot. You don't really need to go any higher. There are all kinds of cars. There's supercars. Of course, Dodge has their Hellcat and all the things with 700, 800 horsepower. This car with 400 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.8 with the all-wheel drive. I mean, that's just going to be a sweetheart of a car. It's going to pin you in the back of the seat, but it's not so overpowering that you're not going to be able to sneeze if you happen to be driving in traffic and rear end the car in front of you. It's just going to be nice, throaty, aggressive power without being over the top. I'm really excited about this car. I would love to drive it here.
I would love to get one. We don't have pricing info yet. We have European pricing info, which says it'll be 62,000 euros. Generally, it's basically what it is in euros is what it is in dollars, because once you take the VAT out and the conversion, they're basically 1-to-1. So maybe it'll be 62 grand. The previous one retailed for 54.9. So that's a bit of a price hike, but we don't know. Maybe they sell it for 60 or 59.9 or something like that. But it's going to be a little bit more expensive. It's a good looking vehicle. It's a good looking little sedan in a place that there aren't that many little sedans like this. You have to understand, This is sitting below the S4, the RS4, stuff like that. We have the RS6 Avant in the United States. This is below that. Kind of the closest competitor at the moment, I think, would probably be the CLA AMG. And I think I would take this over a CLA AMG.
I would. I wouldn't even hesitate. I mean, I would take this over an M4.
Yeah, I would too, actually. It's smaller, but I like smaller.
I know it's not an apples to apples comparison, but buyers don't necessarily care about apples to apples. The heart wants what the heart wants. I would have this over an M4. Not sure if I would have it over an AMG C-Class.
Yeah, that's a bit of a different.
I really love that. I would definitely have it over the CLA. And I mean, the interior looks good. Do you have any pictures handy, Bruce, of the interior?
It's funny. As you were saying that, I was pulling up interior pictures. Give me a hair past a freckle here, and I will give it to you. Because
unlike Mercedes, which is really going for the minimalistic look, I mean, Audi they seem to have a nice little combination of the digital screens plus actual buttons and controls that you can still use. It's got the digital instrument cluster, I think, is 12.3 inches. Yep. The infotainment is 10.1. If you aren't a fan of just like screens everywhere, I mean, I think Audi is the way to go. Plus, you get a heads-up display, which who doesn't love a heads-up display in a car? Nice. I think the interior, actually looks busy compared to, I think, a lot of the other new cars that we've seen.
I think it's just because of all that lighting.
The lighting, of course, the screens are all turned on. How many times do we see photos of new press cars now with all of the electronics turned off? So you just had this kind of just plain kind of black look. It looks a little busy, but I think it's busy in a good way. It makes me feel like a driver as opposed to just somebody that's sitting behind the wheel, if you follow what I mean.
Yeah, no, I just want to compare it real quick. So former Motor Oneer, now he's moved on to PR, but Jake Holmes, he drove the previous gen RS3 for us, and he had some photos of that. And so I'm going to put that up now, and you'll see the previous interior. And if you think the current one looks busy, then the previous one is going to look stark. You're going to be like, wait, where is everything? here's the previous Gen RS3 interior. And keep in mind, this is a 2018 model. So in 3 years, this is the change we've gone through.
That looks, it looks, the new one, I want to be clear, the new one looks so much better than this. I mean, it's not bad,
it's
but
fine. I agree, the new one looks better, but this is fine. I hate that little pop-up kind of, it looks tacked on top of the dashboard.
An afterthought of an infotainment screen is what I call those.
And just for anyone watching on YouTube, so right now this is a 2018 RS3, and I'm going to stop this image and I will put the upcoming RS3 up just so you can see back and forth once again. So here's old.
And here comes new, and it's really night and day. I mean, the 2018 with just kind of the smaller round vents for the air conditioning.
Here's new.
That little tiny infotainment screen. The new car just looks fantastic inside, and I think it looks good outside. Of course, the Quattro with the all-wheel drive. They have systems on this now. They have different drive modes that'll vector power left or right to help mitigate understeer and oversteer. Or there's a mode that, and I didn't quite understand this from Audi. They said, they suggested that it'll send a bunch of power to the back so you can go do fun drifting stuff. But they didn't say that it just sends all the power to the back. So I mean, they have a system set up where, hey, if you want to go out and get sideways, and I mean, Audis with their all-wheel drive traditionally have really tended more towards understeer.
Right, but that kind of rear bias,
they've gotten better.
Yeah, but that super rear biased rear all-wheel drive thing is something Mercedes and BMW are doing that, so it's natural that kind of Audi is going to follow that. So
yeah. And I mean, we only get the sedan version in the United States. At least we're getting one version.
At least we're getting something.
Maybe the hatchback will come over here eventually. But man, I mean, at $60,000, I mean, I think that's a sweetheart, I think.
Yeah, especially, I don't love buying brand new cars. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm probably going to have to at some point because my wife pushes for it, but I don't love personally buying brand new cars. But if you waited 3 or 4 years, $60,000, that means it's probably going to be 40, maybe high 30s. That'd be a really good car in just a few years.
Oh, I'm with you there too. Just the thought of the depreciation hit just kills me. I would do a lease, and for the last couple of years, I've been thinking about getting back into a lease just because I sort of have a payment anyways with the Mazda with the repairs. I got to say, my Mazda 6 has been awesome for like the last month and a half.
So 6 weeks, baby.
Come on, 7. Daddy needs some shoes. So hey, but yeah, with leases, I mean, yeah, you're paying money out and you don't get it back, but you also don't have to go through the hassle of trying to sell it and go through all those other steps. So
I'd wait 3 years, man. Just wait 3 years. Let you lease one, and then in 3 years or 4 years, I'll take it from you off the lease, and we'll be in perfect shape.
It's a done deal. It's a done deal.
Man.
So we're planning ahead to 2024. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Do we know when the RS3 is going to be on sale? I didn't catch that part in the States.
I want to say early next year.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is early next year. I mean, it'll be a 2022 model.
Yes,
we know that it'll be a 2022 model. So if it's not on sale at the very end of this year, it'll be early next.
Right. I was preparing for our next topic, and I had closed that tab, and
that's
then you
my
asked
fault.
me a hard question, man.
That's my fault.
Europeans get it next month.
Okay.
And we
okay,
do not have it. I would if it's going to be a 22 model, it has to be before the middle of next year.
Yep, absolutely before the middle of next year. So there you go. Information from Rambling About Cars. Now,
let's talk about something that's going away. Unfortunately,
we don't know. Hold on, we don't know for sure. It's just a rumor. And
who's the guy that wrote the story, man?
That's yeah, that's me. I wrote the story, but I mean, okay. So it was very late last week, I think. This rumor popped up.
Yeah.
With a website, Korean car blog that we sometimes get info from. They claim to have seen documents from their sources in South Korea that say Kia is going to be retooling their factory where they make the current Stinger. They're going to be switching over to hybrid and electric vehicles, and because of that, production of the Kia Stinger will stop. And because production stops, ergo, Kia Stinger is dead. That's the rumor. And that's supposed to happen, according to this report, that's supposed to happen by the second quarter of 2022. So, I mean, that's less than a year away at this point. First quarter, January, February, March. In theory, then, come April 1st, no more Kia Stinger production. Now, I want to stress again, it's just a rumor.
Right.
I reached out to Kia, our American counterparts.
And we're looking at that here.
And we have the statement right there. I'll read the statement that I got from Kia. Outside of the recently launched 2022 Stinger refresh, Kia America has made no official announcement regarding the Stinger and does not comment on future products. So that's the official statement.
And I think that's important that they just refreshed it for the 2022 model year.
Yeah.
That to kill it for 2023 would be kind of a whole lot of lost money. And the refresh was rather significant. The outside looks the same, but the 4-cylinder, there's a new 4-cylinder.
The 4-cylinder is up to 300 horsepower.
There's a revised interior. Like, it wasn't just kind of a minor, we put on some new exterior body panels and that was it. So you would think they would want to amortize that cost before they actually kill it.
Well, and another thing to consider, and I was trying to look up some specifics, and it was tough to find some specifics. The Stinger is also made at a plant in Russia, but I believe that's just for a specific market. And I believe there's also another plant somewhere in Eastern Europe that also makes the Stinger. So I don't believe this facility in South Korea is the only plant. But as I was looking around, trying to find, okay, where are people's Kias being made? The United States, at least, everybody that I was able to see and read about, their Kias are coming from South Korea. So while that plant could be retooled, it's possible that production could continue elsewhere, which would mean that Stinger could stick around for a little bit longer. Again, these are all just rumors at this point. But that being said, when you look at sales for the Stinger the last few years, it never took off like Kia wanted to. 2019, they sold 13,861 in the US, and that was it. Of course, 2020 was a rough year for everybody. Actually, they didn't suffer as bad as most because they sold 12,556 cars in 2020. Now, yeah, it's lower, but I mean, it's not a huge percentage lower. Right now through 2021, obviously we're halfway through the year. But when you look year over year, Stinger sales, they're up ever so slightly. They're up 147 vehicles versus last year. So basically their 2021 is looking to be on par with 2020, about 13,800, 14, maybe 14,000 if they're lucky. I mean, it's not an insignificant number, but it's not anywhere near what Kia was hoping for. And
I just wanted to point this out here. So we have been hearing kind of reports that the Stinger's days are numbered for a while. This, what we're looking at on YouTube now, Kia admits it hasn't decided whether there will be a next-gen Stinger. And this is from September of 2020. So kind of coming up, 10 months ago.
Right.
There have been kind of this kind of rumbling thing that, the Stinger was an interesting idea for Kia, but it just hasn't been the sales success that it wanted it to be, which is unfortunate because to me, I think of the Pontiac G8 GT and the Chevy SS, of vehicles with, lots of power, rear wheel drive, also all wheel drive in the case of the Stinger, that enthusiasts should love. Like, this should be the car, the sedan that every family guy wants, because you can put your whole family in it. You can take them anywhere. And if you're on a back road at some point, you can have a hell of a lot of fun with it. And buyers just haven't responded to it for reasons I don't understand.
Well, I think I do understand. And I think Kia,
tell me.
I think Kia perhaps realizes this too. Bruce, how much does a top of the line Kia Stinger with the twin turbo V6 all wheel drive cost?
Funnily enough, I was just talking about this with our boss Adrian today. It is 51. It's basically 52 grand for the GT2 range topping model
with rear wheel drive.
Yes.
If you want that with all wheel drive, you're up to $55,000.
Yeah.
And as neat as I think the car is, I think the car looks good. I actually rather love it. I love the hatchback design. It's extraordinarily capable.
A hatchback that doesn't look like a hatchback, which should make Americans happy.
It reminds me of my Mazda 6 a lot. It's a little bit bigger and it's a lot faster. I would love to replace this, and maybe if I find one used in a couple years, I will. But the reason I'm not looking at it now, 55 grand. Now, admittedly, that's for the top end model, but you're still looking at $36,000 for a base 4-cylinder rear wheel drive Stinger, and that's not a huge price, but I mean,
we were talking about this what the average car price is right around I think 33 now. So yeah, that's
but if you want to spend if you want to spend $36,000 on a neat sporty sedan that has decent power but not overwhelming power, are you looking at a Stinger? And honestly, I don't think people are.
Yeah,
people, right. I think people are still used to going to Kia and being able to find decent vehicles at a surprising price. And for me, there's nothing surprising about the Stinger's price. When you consider its size, it's not a small car.
No, you can fit like a family of. It could be a family of four's car. Like if you could cross shop it against a Camry or an Accord, fine. In my opinion.
Yeah, it's not a small car, and I almost get the impression that Kia was trying. Well, it's not an impression. We've seen it in their ads with the K5, where they're trying to bump up against BMW.
Yeah,
and I have to wonder if maybe they were thinking, well, okay, this will be our BMW fighter. People will step down several $1,000s from BMW to go to the Stinger. What they should have been thinking of was, let's get people to step up a little bit to go to Stinger.
Yeah.
Have that price point a little bit lower to attract that other segment of buyers, because honestly, I don't think a BMW buyer is cross shopping Kia, and it's no disrespect to Kia. It's just, it doesn't have the same kind of pedigree that BMW has.
Yeah.
And to me, it's kind of plain as day. That's why they're not selling. When a decent performance model is going to cost you 50 grand.
I wouldn't say, because what's a GT1 cost? I was just trying to look at that. What's the entry level with the V6 cost?
Entry level GT1, 43,690. So 44 grand.
That's
by the time,
not bad, man.
By the time you get your destination in there, 45 grand. But do you want to spend 45 grand on that rear wheel drive car brand new? Or do you want to go, like you were just saying, Bruce, 2 or 3 years older to a used BMW, to a used Audi
or something like that. Yeah.
At the same price point.
Yeah.
I know it's not an apples to apples comparison, but like I said earlier, buyers don't care about apples to apples.
You're right.
They're going to look at price. They're going to look at what they want, and that's where they're going to go. And I think that's why I think Kia just priced their Stinger too high, unfortunately.
But enthusiasts, I'm telling you, these are going to be a really good buy in just a few years.
Yep.
It's going to have, all of the tech, all of the power, everything that you want. It's going to have everything that you want from that BMW or Mercedes for thousands and thousands less, if not tens of thousands. Yeah, I predict this is going to be a very good buy in 4 to 5 years' time.
Mm-hmm. And again, hatchback. I just think of all the things I've hauled in my Mazda that doesn't look like a wagon. It doesn't look like an SUV. You get that same effect here with a Stinger. You'd be shocked at how much you can put inside that car. And yeah, you get it with all-wheel drive. Okay, who needs your crossover with a little bit more ground clearance? You're not going off-road anyways.
Or if you live in Florida and you don't need all-wheel drive, you get the rear-wheel drive model.
Rear-wheel drive, yeah. Or if you live in the north, you just put snow tires on it and you still have some fun.
Or that, right? Yeah.
But yeah, it could be. This could be it. We could be looking at months. So
yeah. Well,
hopefully,
Mr. Smith,
hopefully that's not true.
I need you to put your journalism cap on because you did some deep diving for us this week in regards to a story that hit big for us. What, Friday of last week? Thursday of last week? When did that go up?
It was, when did it go up? Yeah, when did it go up? Let me take a look here. July 16th. So that was what, last Friday?
I'm helping you out here, but
somewhere around there.
Either Thursday or Friday. It's Friday.
It's Friday. So yeah, so it went up Friday here. Let me do a quick share screen so people can at least see a little bit of what we're talking about here.
Absolutely.
This is a video that came out on Viral Hog. Long story short, it's a video of a Dodge Ram pickup truck. And yes, this is a Dodge Ram because it's a third generation truck before Ram split off from Dodge. I actually got an email on that from a guy that was just chastising me. That's there. You won't find a Dodge badge anywhere on there. Yeah, this is a third generation. It's a Dodge Ram. Anyways, it's a video from British Columbia, Canada, of this Dodge Ram pulling a semi truck through a busy intersection. It's not just a semi truck. This is a big semi truck pulling big tandem trailers, each trailer loaded with logs. It's a big logging truck. Now, I looked up some of the rules and regulations in Canada. The maximum weight that you can have for a rig like this with tandem trailers, 140,000 pounds. Now, I don't know that this truck is 140,000 pounds. Knowing what I know about logging trucks, it's probably pretty close to 100. It's probably pretty close to 140,000 pounds.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And this video is only it's only about 15 seconds long. And it appears to show this Dodge Ram pulling this truck out of the intersection. The video description said, here in Williams Lake, British Columbia, Canada, this Ram towed this broken down logging truck out of the intersection.
And we received more emails about this video than anything else in ages.
In recent history, they were coming into our tips line. There were emails coming directly to me. Commenters were just all over this article. What are we up to? I think we were up to 56 comments
last time I saw.
We're up to 56. Okay, so we've had more comments yet today on this article.
Oh, I'm sorry, 54. You're right, 54.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was wrong.
54 people chastising me. Williams Lake is nowhere near the Rocky Mountains. Okay. It's in between. It's just west of the Rockies. But anyways, people were just commenting like crazy that no way could this pickup truck pull that big semi. And then, of course, there were people jumping in that were saying, well, yeah, of course it can. Dodge power forever. And then there were people arguing about, oh, this isn't America. This is Canada. And it's like, why are you even bringing this up? We said it's in Canada, you know. It's the whole commenting scene. But the traffic that this article produced, I mean, it picked up over the weekend, and we did have a minor website outage on Monday, but our traffic was just off the scale, and this article and this video was leading the way. So whether or not just people flogged to this and broke the website for a little while, I don't know. It was just all over the place. And then we got a message. Well, first of all, we had a commenter say, hey, I know where the source of this video is. It's a person on TikTok that took these videos. And there's a link here in the article. If you go to the article at motor1.com, the article's titled Dodge Ram Goes Full Superhero, Tows Loaded Logging Rig to Safety. This TikTok user actually took several videos, and one of those videos actually showed the chain that was connected to the truck and the semi. So yes, it did actually pull that semi out of the intersection. Now, this wasn't a big deal to me because, I mean, did people all of a sudden forget that Ford did a big PR stunt pulling $1 million worth of train cars here a little while ago with their electric F-150?
Or a Tundra pulled the space shuttle.
Yeah, if you go back to 2015, Toyota did a thing where a stock Tundra towed the space shuttle, and I think that was like 200 and some thousand pounds, 300,000 pounds, something like that. a maximum tow rating is completely different from what you can actually pull. I mean, a tow rating, keep in mind, that's taking into account long distance towing, where you have to also make sure your tow vehicle can adequately manage that load at speed, where you can still have functioning brakes, where you still have functioning suspension. It all goes together. If you're just towing something at very, very slow speed for just a short distance, you can go way beyond that. It's not recommended. It might hurt the vehicle. But anyways, we had a commenter point us to those TikTok videos, but then we had an email that came in from the brother of the owner of this Ram. And he said, hey, this was my brother. I told him about this. Would love to see him get a little bit of attention because he was just trying to help this guy out. So yeah, I got a hold of the brother. And we wrote a follow-up article. Let me stop.
You wrote a follow-up article.
My share screen here. Wrote a follow-up article just today on it, as we're recording this Wednesday. And yes, the story goes, it's pretty much just like the video descriptions say. This truck, it had some clutch issues out in the forest when it was
the semi.
The semi, right. Getting out of the forest. By the time he got into this intersection, the clutch was just about gone. The semi driver then lost power steering coming up to the intersection, stopped because no power steering when you're pulling 140,000 pounds of logs is bad. And he stopped because he didn't want to hit the traffic light. So in comes our hero with his Dodge Ram. That's a 2007 Dodge Ram 3500. It's got the Cummins diesel engine, 6-speed manual transmission. And he came in there and offered to help the guy out. So they hooked up. The first thing they had to do, because the guy had stopped the truck because he didn't have any power steering because the clutch was almost up. He couldn't get it out of gear. So he started just tugging on the semi a little bit just to try to move it enough to where they could get it out of gear. They got it out of gear. They managed to get it fired back up. The guy in the Ram, he said, I was kind of excited, caught up in the moment. I was trying to tow him in 4 high, and I kind of cooked my clutch. And you can see it in the Viral Hog video. I mean, you can see there's a pretty good amount of white smoke coming out underneath. And we were theorizing back last week, okay, is that clutch smoke? Is that tire smoke? What is that? There were commenters that were saying, no, that's the semi-truck is pushing the Ram. And the smoke is the smoke coming off the tires because the Ram's brakes are locked up. And it's just like,
no.
How stupid are you? Sorry, I had to say that. Come on, you're pushing a truck at like 2 miles an hour and you're getting gobs of tire smoke. No. So yes, that smoke was actually the clutch kind of cooking itself up a little bit. He says, okay, so then I put it into 4 low. At that point, I kind of had my head on a little bit straighter, so I was just easing into it. And as you watch the video, I mean, you can see, if you watch very closely, to me at least, you can see the Ram bump forward just before the truck starts to go. And then you can also see a point where the Ram shifts gears and the Ram shimmies a little bit. And then you see the semi shimmy a little bit. Ultimately, towed him about a mile down the street to a wider section where the cars could go around them. According to the Ram owner,
it's worth putting out so we are not showing this video because YouTube is weird, and we've shown videos on our show before and we've gotten copyright strikes. So that's the reason we're not showing the video. If you want to see the video, motor1.com, go for it. Like, it's there. That's the reason we are not showing it on this. But the semi is in an intersection, and so it's kind of blocking traffic. And so to kind of explain why it needs to be towed to this other area, just to throw that in. Yeah.
Yep. No, thanks for that. I was getting a little ahead of myself there. And I mean, the guy did it just because he says, I mean, I drove up there. The guy needed help. I thought I could help him. And we need more of that in the world, people.
Yeah.
He said cars were trying to go through and everybody was yelling and honking. And it's like, what do you want this guy in the semi to do? He's clearly having some issues with his truck. I don't know if they'd called a wrecker. I mean, something like that would usually require a very large semi wrecker to come out there. And yeah, this guy said, about 10 minutes. By the time I got him all hooked up, we got him out of gear, and I got him down the road a little bit, about a mile. The only issue on the Ram pickup truck probably took a little bit of life off of that clutch. He said it's still working fine now, but I might have to replace the clutch sooner rather than later. But yeah, I was very happy. Motor One readers and Rambling About Cars listeners, you're the best. The readers sent us these links and got us connected to the people that could tell the real story. Totally. And yeah, I mean, that's just, it's one of those stories. We never know exactly which stories are really going to hit with people. I mean, obviously we're covering the auto industry proper. We're covering things like the Audi RS3 debut, but we're also keeping an eye out for interesting things like this 3,500 1-ton pickup truck towing a 140,000 pound semi truck. And yeah, that just took off with readers. I thought it would be worth mentioning here on the podcast just because we were able to do the follow-up with the Ram owner. Big shout out.
That's what makes it important.
Big shout out to you, Tom, for chatting with me, for sharing your information. Yeah, we need more people like him in the world. You see somebody that's having a little bit of trouble, they're broken down. If you got a little bit of time, don't honk and yell. Pull over and see what you can do. And that's what he did. And we're grateful for that.
Yeah. Again, good reporting on your part. It's great that the people reached out to us and, the guy's brother and basically said, hey, we can put you in touch. And yeah, just an all around good story. So I'm happy we did it.
Yeah. And I mean, to the people that were like, no, that can't happen. Yeah, of course. I mean, not of course, but I mean, yeah, trucks, beefy pickup trucks can pull much, much larger loads than you might realize. You don't want to do it all the time. But I mean, we've seen it before. I guess that's what got me more than anything. It's like, why is everybody just so against this? I mean, one person in the comments, I mean, he was flat out like, I mean, he was, and I even asked him in the comments because he was talking like he was there. He was like, yeah, this is totally false. You're being totally misled. The semi was pushing the Ram out of the intersection, and there's TikTok videos of it. So I was like, okay, cool. Can you send me this information? And that's when the other person stepped in and said, "Oh, here's the TikTok videos, and yeah, you can see the pickup truck is towing the semi." Yeah. So just a slice of our life.
Exactly. Cool. But yeah, no, that was really, so just to give my point of view on it, I don't read every story you write, just like you don't read every story I write. I'm not your boss. You're not my boss, that type of thing. We got so many emails about this on Friday. I finally decided I got to watch this damn thing. And so I watched it. And initially when I saw it, to me, it looked like the semi was rolling slowly and the Ram was just basically helping it. Not that the semi was pushing the Ram, but basically the semi had some sort of mechanical issue. Maybe it was stuck in granny gear or first gear or whatever, and the Ram was helping it. And then within like an hour of that, we got that other TikTok video that clearly showed the chain, and you could see the Ram pulling the chain and getting the semi going. It's like, oh yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, perspective matters. Being on the scene and having info matters. So
yeah.
Well, let's talk about some other emails and comments that weren't
let's answer
that weren't about this truck. Although, hey, if you want to talk to us about this truck, podcast@motor1.com. We can do more about it.
Sure. If you still somehow think after all of Smith's reporting that it was being pushed and it wasn't, let's talk because you're wrong. Anyway.
40% of listeners think that the semi pushed the Ram.
So we got two really good comments on YouTube last week. One of them asking for advice. And as always, I'm not going to mention names. I am going to edit this down just because it's so long. This lady had a lot to say. But she basically wants some help buying a new car. She currently has a 2013 Hyundai Veloster Turbo. Let me let me find my favorite part. It was my little drive it into the ground car. Everyone drove it. My hubby, his 2 daughters, 2 adopted sons and daughters, hubby's bestie, and both of his son and my dad. And it still has under 91,000 miles on the body. That's a lot of people to drive in less than 100,000 miles. Sadly for me, and this was the other part I love, sadly for me, Hyundai seems to be the only company putting out affordable, sexy cars, sexier cars than the rest of the automakers out there. Hence my purchase of the Veloster Turbo. Yeah, we were just talking about the Stinger, which is basically Hyundai as well. She is looking for something reliable yet sexy that won't break the bank. It's got to be sub 50K that I can drive for 10 years with decent or better gas mileage. Now I'm stuck with a 2005 Nissan Armada, and the gas mileage is killing me, although the sound system is great. So apparently this guy likes some music as well. And she also puts in... She seems to have a history of transmission issues. She had a 92 Taurus with a new transmission that blew in 1,000 miles of purchase.
Let's be honest, though. A lot of people had Taurus transmission troubles. They weren't exactly known for their transmission longevity.
She's had a Chrysler Concorde.
Again, yeah.
I did love Dad's 1975 V8 Buick Skylark smoked a Porsche off a red light on a flat. Driving skills do matter. So I want to meet this gal. She sounds like someone who's fun, but let's help her out. She's got 50K or sub 50K to buy a new car to replace her Veloster Turbo, and she wants something sexy.
Well, I mean, we were just kind of talking about the Stinger. I don't know if the Stinger is sexy, but I think
might call the Stinger sexy.
I think it looks good. I think it would have all kinds of capability as far as interior space, carrying things, carrying people. It's certainly going to be fun to drive. If you go brand new, you'll have to go with the rear wheel drive only.
Or you could get a 4-wheel, or you could get a 4-cylinder with all-wheel drive, I think, for sub 50K.
Or, I mean, you could always go a couple years old at this point.
Yeah, by 2-3 years old, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
You'd be sub 50K there, no problem.
I mean, I'm just thinking about cars that I've been looking at. The new Kia K5, I'm a big fan of that. The new Elantra. What's the Elantra N go for?
I think we know yet.
I mean, I know we're kind of deviating from, I think from her past experience with vehicles.
So I neglected this part as I was editing what she said, just because it was so long. So she says, hence my purchase of the Veloster Turbo, because mommy likes some sexy speed. Was leaning toward an EV, but I have no confidence in the T. I'm assuming she means Tesla, because I want the T to mean Tesla, and the rest are progressing too slowly. I need a vehicle that can drive 400 miles without a thought. Stinger would still count. You're not going to get 400 miles out of a Mach-E at sub 50. You're not going to get sub 400 miles out of a Mach-E in general. There aren't very many EVs outside of a Model S and more than 50K, like maybe a Taycan, or not Taycan. Taycan. Or a EQS when that comes. Neither one of those are going to be sub 50 grand. You're still kind of in combustion engine land at this point to get that far. I like the Stinger idea.
Well, here's a little bit of a wild card. What about a tricked out Santa Cruz? I mean, we're sticking with Hyundai. Now you've got something with a bed in the back.
But it's going to be way sub 50.
It'll be sub 50.
You could get a loaded one for less than 50.
No manual, but you'll get the dual clutch automatic. You know, the dual clutch. Is that a wet box on that? That they're putting? I can't remember.
It's their own. It's their wet box DCT.
So I mean, if you get the higher spec model with the turbo, that's 320. No, wait, no. What? No, it's 280 or 300. Somewhere around there. It'll be enough power to be plenty fun with all-wheel drive. You're going to have this kind of cool little sporty truck that's going to give you a little bit of cargo capacity in the back. You won't be able to fit your bike in the back. The front wheel of the bike would have to hang over the tailgate. But I think the Santa Cruz and the Maverick both make a case for cool, sporty street trucks, where if you need a little bit of extra cargo capacity, I wouldn't call the Maverick sexy though. I'm not sure I would call the Santa Cruz sexy. I think its design is striking. The Maverick just looks like a small Ford pickup truck. And I'm sorry,
I think
Ford
if
guys,
she likes Hyundais, I think the Stinger is the answer to this question.
Stinger could well be the answer to the question. Or
she clearly already, she's got a Veloster. She's already in the Hyundai family. It's, Stinger. I don't know what kind of incentives there are right now. With Stingers moving fairly slow, I imagine there are some decent incentives you can look at. You could wheel and deal, I bet.
Or I mean, I rather like the Elantra too. I think Hyundai is just killing it right now with their designs.
Or even find a used Genesis, like a Genesis, like what, G70, G80.
Yeah,
I bet you could. You know what? I'm curious. I bet you could get
that could be a thought.
A G80 for sub 50 grand used. Talk 1 second. I am just curious about this now that we talk about it.
I'm kind of running my head through, just kind of step by step through.
Oh yeah, here we go. Genesis G80s. This is in Ohio. I don't know where this lady is, but 31, 31, 30, 31, 26. So yeah. And
I don't know how. I mean, they're not bad looking. I don't know how jazzy I would call that.
Yeah, maybe sexy isn't the right word, but it's certainly luxurious.
I mean, if you haven't seen the new Kia K5 in person yet, I mean that's Kia's version of the Elantra. Mm-hmm. I've seen both. I mean, I think the Elantra looks pretty swoopy, but
I don't love the new Elantra. I know everyone else does.
The K5.
I just don't love it.
You should look at the K5 then, because the K5 doesn't have quite that big kind of shark mouth going on.
Yeah.
The K5 has a different front clip on it, and I think the K5 looks great. I wish they did the K5 with a hatch like they did with the Stinger.
Yeah.
And with the K5, I mean, you can get it upfitted with the turbo, and I mean, Kia's bragging about how it's quicker than the BMW 330 or whatever to 60 miles an hour. I think Kia's making a mistake trying to pick a fight with BMW there, but the point being, it's not a slow car. It's pretty dynamic. That could be your answer. I'm trying to think, something. If we knew about a GR Corolla from Toyota,
we don't know it yet,
but we don't know. We don't know. And it's a shame we don't get the GR Yaris.
Yep. Well, that might be too small. Well, no, she's got a Veloster. That's a small car, so
yeah,
she doesn't mind small.
I mean, Civic Si when it comes out.
That's going to be so. Yeah, like
if you
these
can
are
wait,
all good options.
I mean, that would be easily within the price range. I mean, heck, if you can find a Civic Type R still available right now, that should be under 50.
Yeah.
I mean, their sticker was like what, 37, 38 or something new.
I thought it was more than that, but okay. But still, yeah, that would be sub 50. I think if it were me, and given this lady's things, I think the Stinger or the Genesis G80 would be my picks.
That's where I would go.
Yeah. Even you're not going to get the Genesis new probably, but if a 2 or 3 year old one, like I was just saying, no problem. Mm-hmm. And then, you could even do a new Stinger for sub 50. So depending on if you want that warranty or not. But yeah, I think let us know. I will respond to this woman's question on YouTube and let her know we answered it. And please let us know what you think of our suggestions.
Yeah, top tips from the Chris's.
Exactly.
And listeners out there, if you have some advice, podcast@motor1.com. We can talk about it in the future. This could be an ongoing thing. We certainly love to spend other people's money, man.
Oh, I love it. That's the best part.
We love to do that.
So super quick, before we get into
Yeah.
our cheap car challenge for this week, I'm going to read one other YouTube comment we got. And this one is much shorter. So for me, the Santa Cruz and Maverick don't compete because as you remember, we were talking about Santa Cruz pricing versus Maverick pricing last week.
Mhm.
For me, the Maverick is for people who want a truck who are fine with a small one like the old Ranger or Mazda B2000. And the Santa Cruz is a truck for people who want a compact utility vehicle with all the goodness of a higher sitting car that comes with, but want a bed for hauling a moderate amount of stuff outside a cabin. Sorry. I love them both, but I would get the Maverick for myself. And I responded to this person on YouTube and basically said, I do think the Santa Cruz and Maverick compete. I think we have to compare them because right now in the United States, there isn't another small truck to compare them against. Like we have to compare them against each other because there isn't that segment is coming from them. So
well, and for me, I mean, not only that, and this isn't the first time we've heard an argument like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, I mean, I hear what's being said and I understand but it just doesn't make sense to me. We're talking about two front wheel drive based unibody pickup trucks that are very similar in size, that each have a quad cab design, similar space inside, similar space outside, both available with all-wheel drive. Both have turbocharged power.
Cylinder engines. Yeah.
I mean, of course they match up. Well, I think what's being discussed here, it's not a comparison of whether or not they match up. It's what kind of person will be shopping for that particular brand. And yeah, I agree. There will be some differences there. But I think that's the focus there. These two trucks, these two unibody trucks are absolutely comparable. Mm-hmm. It's just they're going to reach, I think, different buyers. And hopefully the Hyundai and Ford will hope they can actually reach out and kind of grab some of the others' take with these. It'll be interesting to see once they're both on sale.
Yep.
Just how the buyers respond. But yeah,
that was exactly the response I gave. To me, the Santa Cruz is probably going to appeal more to the traditional crossover buyer who are maybe looking for something with a little bit of a bed. The Maverick is going to appeal to someone who is maybe looking at a Ranger but thinks I don't need that much. So a pickup truck buyer who wants to kind of move down.
Mm-hmm. And curiously, I just did an article a couple days ago on Ford Maverick product guide that leaked online. It's basically telling us what we already know, but it comes from Ford proper, and it gives us some insight into what Ford is trying to coach their dealers on as far as selling the Maverick. And according to that, they're looking for buyers maybe coming from sedans or hatchbacks or small crossovers that previously hadn't considered a truck, but now might be looking for something smaller or making their first brand new vehicle purchase as opposed to something used. Cool. One thing that was curious to me there, Ford made no reference to their traditional truck market. So
interesting.
Interesting take for sure.
Is it time to have some fun spending money we don't have?
Here's where it gets scary because I do have it. I
could have it, but I'm not going to. But
I looked at a 93 Taurus show over the weekend.
I know you did.
I stepped away from it because I just don't have the space to work on it. If I'd had the space to work on it, I would have had it because the thing is totally rust free, but it's been sitting for 12 years and it was almost sunk up to the frame. It's been sitting for a while. It would need some work, but I'm a hard case like that,
Well, okay, let's tell the listeners what we're doing here. So we're doing a cheap car challenge because we haven't done one in, I think, 2 or 3 months.
Yeah,
it's been a while. So this time the challenge is it must be from the 1980s and it must cost $5,000 or less.
5,000 or less will get you a lot in the 80s.
Not around here.
It's starting to get a little thinner though.
It is.
But if you want to have something kind of neat and interesting that is getting more rare on the streets.
Yeah.
I mean,
you got to be willing to broaden your horizons is what I learned.
Yeah. So that's the criteria. We're also trying to stick close to our market areas. I know Bruce, generally you stick within a couple 100 miles.
Yep, I'm sticking within the farthest out is Columbus, which is like a 3-hour drive for me. So I picked 5 cars. The farthest one is in Columbus. All the other ones are within an hour and a half at most. So
I stretch the rules a little bit.
And I understand. We live in different areas. That's okay.
Yeah. I mean, Rapid City, South Dakota, there are a lot of trucks. A couple weeks ago, there was an 85 Honda Accord with a manual, and it had like a gazillion miles, and it didn't look bad, but the guy was like, yeah, I've kind of patched it up over the years. The interior was mostly gutted. He said it'd be a cool little rally car runabout fun thing, and it was $450. And it was running and driving, and I almost pulled the trigger on it. The next day, it was gone, so somebody already picked it up. So occasionally I see something like that, but otherwise it's truck, crossover, truck, Impala, truck. That's it.
Well, I guess I will start us off here.
Okay, go ahead, start us off.
Here, hold on. Let me get to the right picture on the listing.
Now, as always, neither one of us we haven't discussed our choices ahead of time. So we are going to be just as surprised as everybody out there is.
Yep. So I'm going to start with a 1988 Mazda RX-7 convertible.
Oh my God.
You did
not pick that.
Yes, of course. Well, it's got 226,000 miles, which on a rotary, from what I hear, 300,000 miles is kind of when you need to rebuild them. So she don't got a whole lot of life left in her. But when I show you the pictures, you'll see it doesn't look that bad.
No, for $3,500, if it's running and driving, it's
so. And I also have to say, for anyone out there, this is pronounced Oregon, Ohio. I understand Oregon, whatever, but around here, this is Oregon, Ohio. So we'll go through some pictures and then we'll kind of go through. But look at that engine bay. It's clean. For anyone listening to the audio version, Smith, tell them, is that a clean engine bay?
They clearly just power washed that to get all the oil residue out.
They probably did. But
hey, when I've shopped for cheap cars over the years, I mean, I've always said it's not just about the mechanicals, the obvious stuff. I mean, you have to look at attention to detail, and you also have to shop the seller, especially on higher mile stuff like this.
And you can see from the image we're looking at
fantastic.
Now, the clear coat's gone, but who cares? It's an 87, I said, 88. The clear coat's going to be gone.
Here's a little secret, though. You take a little bit of 800 grit wet sandpaper, kind of just sand off those edges around where the clear coat's baked off. Get your wheel, polish it back up, the clear in the base, and it'll look great for like a day.
But here's what's harder to hide. Look at that interior. Yeah, the lower portion of those door panels are gone, but that's a nice looking interior for the price. It's a 5-speed, which is pretty rare in the convertibles as far as I know. You don't see a whole lot of those. It does have this big old dent in the back fender, but if it's mechanically good, I can live with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the guy says there's a little bit of white smoke on startup, but that's supposed to happen because for anyone who doesn't know, these cars inject a little bit of oil all the time. They do technically burn oil by design in order to lubricate the rotors. So you're going to have that.
Which is probably why we will never, ever see a new rotary engine powering a new Mazda. It's just, it doesn't fit in with emissions regulations.
Right.
And with electric coming. Yeah. So
for $3,500, I wouldn't be too upset with this guy. You go.
No. Well, okay. Nobody is going to believe that we didn't set this up ahead of time. Nobody is going to believe we didn't set this up ahead of time because my choice is a 1988 Mazda RX-7 convertible with low miles.
Your interior's a lot worse than mine.
Oh,
your interior's crap.
It's not just the interior. Look at that top.
Wait, how much is this one? $4,500. You could spend $1,000 less and half mine.
Yeah, but this only has 60,000 miles on it. So you buy
Those
it,
are
you replace
60,000 hard ass miles, dude.
You buy it, you replace the top. Where is this at? I think this is in Colorado Springs. So that's like a half day drive for me if I drive fast. But yeah, man,
those are 60,000 hard living miles.
It could be a fun beater. Look at this
it
thing.
Would be.
I mean, yeah, 4,500. Hey, it's under $5,000.
It is.
I would offer a lot less.
Oh God, yeah. Especially you get mine for 3,500.
I mean, it's a little beat up, but the thing is, I mean, provided the 60,000 miles are accurate. I mean,
I don't think they are.
Well, hey, the ad said that this was a barn find, so it had been sitting in a barn somewhere for a while. Which, hey, you know what? That'll destroy the top. Just put the roof down and leave it down.
Sure.
Just put the roof down, leave it down. Apparently, this guy bought it his autocrossed it a few times, so it's running and driving good. He's got some mods on it.
Upgrade. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, with the top down, come on, that doesn't look bad. It's red, so we'll polish it up. It's the same one I told you. People aren't going to believe that we didn't set this up ahead of time. But yeah, I mean, okay, so the seats are a little rough. We need to get rid of the seats. But
so we need to buy both of these. We'll swap the interior out of mine.
Yeah, there you go. Swap the interior into this car with 60,000 miles.
Yeah, we'll keep your drivetrain. We'll keep my interior, and we'll have one good one.
Yeah, there's no picture of the engine bay, so I mean we don't know what it looks like underneath there. But for your consideration, my beloved RX-7, only major upgrade to the car is a set of the coilovers, dramatically improved the handling and ride quality. Also got a brand new windshield to replace the cracked one. Drove 2 hours of the track, drove it back, so it's never been abused. Since the last time posted, previous owner confirmed this was a barn find, so 60,000 listed on the dash is original. 60,000 mile 1988 Mazda RX-7.
Yeah, I think we need to buy both of these and just merge them into one good car.
It could be done.
Yeah, it can be done. Yeah,
it can be done. Okay, bring up your next one.
Okay, so this is a car that has actually been for sale for quite a while, and as I was looking at this, it still happens to be for sale. So this has been for sale for 24 days, which on Craigslist, that's a while.
That's a while.
We are looking at a 1989 Chrysler TC by Maserati.
Shut up!
It is $3,200. It is in Worcester, which is not that far from me, or it's basically halfway between me and my parents' house. Look, the interior is gorgeous. Look at this interior. Again, I don't know what my luck is with interiors, but it's fantastic. The seller says it has some defects, but a new convertible top, new hood struts, speedometer only works sometimes. GPS, it's fine.
That's fine.
Fine. But yeah, you could own yourself a Maserati for $3,200.
I really do not want to sell it, but I just never drive it anymore. Might trade for guy stuff. Vintage home audio.
I've got some vintage home audio. Maybe not as vintage as he wants, but I got some late 80s stuff you might want. 70,000 miles. It's the 2.2 turbo. It's a Mitsubishi engine, a Chrysler platform, and does interior by Maserati. People talk about that. It's got a Japanese engine, an American body, and an Italian interior. What more could you want?
You want the porthole on the hardtop that reminds you of the 57 Thunderbird.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not.
Does it have the hardtop?
He does not mention that. I'm going to guess there's no hardtop.
Oh, boy.
But for $3,200, I could find a hardtop, I bet, for $1,400.
Yeah. I mean, hey, a convertible red, you'll get some looks. And I mean, those cars, they weren't slow.
No, I mean, it's a 2.2 Mitsubishi turbo engine. Like there are lots of mods out there for them. I think it's the same engine that's in like a Daytona turbo or stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, we should be clear. We're talking about a Mitsubishi turbo 4-cylinder. This ain't no 4G63. This isn't a double. No. This is a pushrod engine. But yeah, I mean, it's I need to look it up here. Let me look this up really quick because I was sure that these TC Maseratis had more power than just like the normal LeBaron.
It's not much more. I think it's for some reason 190 is sticking in my head, but I could be wrong. Maybe 222.
There was an optional 200 horsepower 16 valve Maserati engine with a 5-speed manual in the TC.
Well, this one's an automatic, I believe.
Yeah.
Let me double check. So this one doesn't have the high power. This is an automatic. She ain't the hypo.
Yep. Which that's going to be 160 horsepower. So, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, hey, for back in the day, it wasn't bad.
And it's a $3,200 convertible with a Maserati badge somewhere on it, if I look hard. So, yeah.
Right.
What do you got?
It's very cool that you found that. I'm glad somebody was able to pick up a Chrysler TC by Maserati because so did I. What?
No way. How much is yours? $4,850. You need to come to live here. Everything is $1,000 cheaper in Ohio.
Everything is a little cheaper. Well, but again, I've got lower miles. I've got 55,700.
Oh, you got
on my red Chrysler TC Maserati convertible, which is also an automatic.
Do you have the hard top?
This does have the hard top with it.
Oh, you beat me.
The interior apparently needs a little bit of work. You can see up there the seats are a little.
They're not that bad.
They're a little crusty, but I mean, yeah, they're not
bad.
They're not terrible.
I picked two of the same cars.
I told you nobody's gonna believe.
No, trust us. We did not discuss this beforehand. This is
not set this up.
Coincidence.
This is scary. I'm not even going to try to mention what might be next because I want to see if we go 3 for 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this car's in Minnesota, 55,000 miles. It's just under the 5,000 limit. There you see, it's got the hard top, so it has the hard top and the soft top.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that hard top, it's a 57 Thunderbird hard top. That's really the only way to describe it, right? There's a good look at the hard top. This one is red with a tan interior, automatic. Which means it'll have the
same powertrain.
the same powertrain. Yeah. Named by Hemming Special Interest Magazine as one of 5 top sleeper classics for the 90s.
It's not.
It's an 89, and yeah, with the 160 horse engine, it's really not. But
it's fun. You know, it's an interesting quirk of history. To me, the Chrysler TC by Maserati and the Cadillac Alante kind of hold similar ideas, where they're both Italian-styled American cars where they were trying to fight the Europeans, and they did so in the worst way possible.
And they just completely lost.
The Alante is a bit more interesting, maybe, but they're both, okay.
Do you want me to go next to see if you actually picked one of my picks? I don't think you're going to have this one.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, I don't think you're going to have this one.
Let's see.
If I remember, this is in Kansas City. Let me just double check that. Overland Park, Kansas. And I can't believe I'm finding one of these for under $5,000.
Ooh.
Any guesses here before I bring it up on the screen?
Give me a region. American, Japanese, European.
German.
Oh, German. I'm going to guess you found a 6 Series, like a 633.
How about a Porsche 928?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
A 928S. Look at that.
I found one of those that I didn't
V8,
pick because it looked so rough. But yeah.
119,000. Well, I mean, let's be honest. This one doesn't look fantastic.
That one looks better than the one I was looking at.
I mean, the paint looks, well, optional. If I'm honest, the paint is optional, especially on the hood. But it's reportedly had a fair amount of maintenance done. It's running and driving, and it's a freaking 928. I remember these back in the 80s as just being like the coolest futuristic looking thing ever.
And I agree with you. So the thing that turned me off of these cars, I have to be honest with you. So do you remember our former social media person, Ginger?
Yes.
Her apparently ex-husband had one of these, and she blamed the downfall of the marriage that he spent more time working on the car than he did with her and their daughter. And that's why she left him. So
okay. Well,
I've spent a lot
of time working on cars over the years, but my wife hasn't seemed to mind.
So maybe a 928 isn't the right car for you.
Well, I mean, the ad is pretty thin. It just says 928S, 119,000 miles, automatic gearbox, new tires, new brakes, new battery, runs good, needs a little work, needs new interior, which is a little spooky since we don't have any pictures of the interior. Well, we have a picture of the dash that we're looking at here. Well, the instrument cluster, I guess. Here, let's bring that up. Ooh, there is quite a worrying crack over there on the left side, isn't there? Of that instrument cluster.
See, cracks in the dashboard have never bothered me, especially in the plastic ones. Like, I kind of take that as read almost that it's going to happen, but
yeah. So but I mean, it runs and drives 4,250. It's a Porsche 928. How can you go wrong? Oh, the odometer. It says the odometer is broken. I didn't catch that before. That's all right. We can figure it out.
Here, before I'll show you mine, I'll show you this one super quick. This 928 I found that I didn't pick.
You didn't pick it. Okay.
I did not pick. This is not a pick. This is just to compare. So this is $3,500 in Gahanna, Ohio, which is just outside of Columbus. It is a 1986. The driver's side looks okay-ish until you notice the blocks underneath the wheels, which means the parking brake doesn't work, and the giant hole in the passenger side. The owner claims that it has a rebuilt engine, that it has been well done, that it has a good fuel filter. But he does admit the emergency brake is broken, which is you can tell by looking at the pictures. But yeah, 928 scare the hell out of me, but $3,500. So it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cheap car challenge.
Yeah.
I bet I could get my enjoyment out of it and try to recoup something.
So let's do, since we're running lowish on time, let's do one more each.
Okay. Well, you've got to do the one that this was one that you didn't pick, but it was close. Give us your next pick.
Oh no, let me do the one I did pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give us that one.
Yep. Here's what I did pick. What do you think you would spend on an Italian car?
$3,000.
Oh boy. I can go lower. How about $2,800 for a 1981 Fiat 124 Spider Abarth?
Wait. Does that say 870,000 miles?
Yes, according to that.
Well, but yes. Okay, so it's lightly used.
Yes, but look, it looks good, and it's $2,800. Also, the odometer only says 87. I'm gonna guess that's a typo. I'm gonna hope that's a typo. I'm gonna show
up with $600 and say, yeah, you said this has 800,000 miles. This is all it's worth, buddy.
Yeah, but it's not a bad looking little car.
It does look good,
especially for $2,800.
Could use a tune-up. Oh, could use a tune-up. We know what that means,
right? Like the paint's iffy,
rust and dings, not perfect, but cool. Top works, everything works. New radio and speakers. Oh man, I'm glad that's not near me because that would be super tempting. I wish at $2,800, as long as you don't blow it up, just enjoy it for 6 months.
Sure,
take it easy and recoup your cash.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. You could buy this, drive it until the winter, and sell it for $3,000. No problem, because some other idiot like me is gonna. If I'll spend $2,800, there's another moron out there who'll spend $3,000 on it.
I mean, you buy that, you drive it, you enjoy it for the rest of the summer. You park it in the garage for the winter while it's in the garage. you just take some extra time and you get it cleaned up and you get it looking extraordinarily good, a little bit better than as you bought it. If there are some mechanical fixes that are required, you know, I mean, you don't lie about it, but I mean, you fix the stuff that needs fixed. And
Sure.
if there are some larger issues, you know, you just try to pass that on to the next owner and you explain it to them and you get your money back. And you sell it in the spring when somebody is hot to trot for a neat little red convertible to drive for the summer.
Yeah. Okay. What's your last one?
Oh boy. I'm going to have to choose between two vehicles here. And Bruce, I know that you shared the catalyst for this 80s cheap car challenge, by the way, listeners.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. I started this.
Mr. Bruce in our Teams chat shared a picture of a Z31 300ZX interior, and it was like, this is how we want interiors to be again. We miss interiors like this with the buttons and everything. So that led us down this path, and it's leading me to this final car, which nobody is going to see coming. And if I'm honest, it is on eBay, and the bidding is ongoing, but its starting bid is $5,000. So if nobody else bids,
you're gonna get it.
You could get this. Now, it's also in Las Vegas, so that's like a
bad-ish sign.
That's a half day's drive for me to the airport.
That's it. Oh, okay.
Well, to the airport. I could probably get to Vegas from here in a long day of driving.
Okay,
but this might be worth it.
What do you got?
That is a 1982 Ford LTD Crown Victoria. My very first car, listeners, was a 1982 Ford LTD Crown Victoria. But this is not the four-door Crown Victoria that everybody is used to. No.
That's a two-door.
This is the two-door sedan, and they did not make many of these cars. They made them. You could get them throughout the 80s, and I've kind of kept an eye out because the two-door Crown Victorias, I always thought, were really cool. Now, I mean, it's a big boxy car. Honestly, in its current trim here, it looks boring, but yank those wheels off there. Get some 15 or 16 inch like American racing rims with some big fat tires on there. The beige color is kind of a retirement color. I'll be honest there. But I mean,
that looks like a decent car though.
It almost has like that late 70s Thunderbird kind of ambiance about it.
Definitely.
I think it's about the same size as those late 70s Thunderbirds, but this is into the 80s. I think it's still a carbureted 5-liter V8 at that point. And I mean, it's my first car was a Crown Victoria, so there's a little bit of nostalgia there.
It's got that partial vinyl roof that I've never understood.
The partial vinyl roof, but I mean, look at the front end. I mean, the chrome looks great.
It does.
Right. That egg crate grill was, I think, specific for 1982. And in 1982, this wasn't a Ford Crown Victoria; it was a Ford LTD, and Crown Victoria was the top end of the LTD there. I think it was. Can I do the Seinfeld joke real quick? Go ahead.
There's an episode of Seinfeld where he's talking about car names, and he's like, LTD. That means limited to the number they could make.
I mean, it's a big body on frame car.
Yeah.
It wallows. I mean, it's a luxury car.
Sure.
It's a two-door, but it's not sporty at all. I think it's fantastic. I wish it wasn't beige, but I mean, what's it done? 70,000 miles. It looks like it's in great shape.
That's it for $5,000. I'm
no
not
rust.
Yeah, it's been in the Southwest its whole life.
And you take one of those to a car show, I bet you $1 gazillion you would not see another one there. And not just because they're ugly and nobody wants to keep them.
Because none have survived. Like, they're just not around anymore.
I mean, people aren't lusting after these early mid 80s Crown Victorias.
Yeah.
So yeah, they generally were taken care of. But a two-door Crown Vic is something I've always kept my eye out for. And you know what? One day, if I find one that's not a half day's drive to the airport and then a 2-hour flight away, hey, who knows? It might end up in my garage.
Fair enough. So just as we're about to wrap up, I do want to give credit where credit is due. So as you said, kind of the inspiration for this 80s car challenge was an image. I subscribe to a lot of different things on my RSS feeds. Yes, I still use RSS because I'm an old man.
Hey, a lot of us do. A lot of people do.
But one of them was the image where I'm putting up here. This is an image of a 300ZX we figured out with the digital dash. And it just looks so like it looks so vaguely like cyberpunk and futuristic even today with all those bits and pieces.
Yep.
And again, to give credit where credit is due, if you want to follow this guy for similar stuff, it comes from a Tumblr account. And I know Tumblr is basically dead, called TU Mecha MECHA 3BLR2, which is basically 2 Mecha Tumblr 2 in kind of leet speak type thing. But
I mean,
so yeah,
everything.
I just wanted to give credit where credit was due before we shut things down.
We're so used to digital displays today. And I mean, that's an 80s digital dash. I mean, it's like
it's like 87, 88. Yeah.
Yeah. Where everything, the fuel gauge, everything is digitized. Oh, those were just the bomb, man. I know we have digital cockpits now that look great, but that plus all the buttons inside. Yeah. You feel like you're in a fighter plane.
Right. And for anyone watching, this is how it looks kind of without the stylistic look of kind of through the dash. This is just how it would look for a normal person. Mm-hmm. And I still kind of like it, if I'm honest. I still kind of dig it. So, yeah.
Very 80s future.
Very. Totally.
Very 80s future. Awesome. Yeah. We need to do more of these cheap car challenges.
Oh, I love them. Yeah. You know, maybe it can be like a once a month type thing. You know,
once a month type of thing. And hey, you know what? Send us your cheap car challenges. 5,000 or less. Podcast at motor1.com. You got 5,000 or less. Search something within 500 miles. Tell us what you find. We'll share it.
Of course. I want to see what's around you. You know, Smith is in the South Dakota area. I'm in the Ohio area. There's a lot more country than just that. So if there's something wild in your area for $5,000, we'd love to see it.
And apparently things are cheaper.
Things are cheaper in Ohio.
The further east you go. So I would love to see what a Chrysler TC Maserati goes for in Connecticut.
Oh yeah.
It'd be like
probably
1,500.
Several sold there.
$1,500 by that point.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, we got to wrap up. Why don't you take us out, man?
Yeah, man. So as always, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Whenever you happen to be listening to us, we appreciate it. We love it. We love all of the comments that you make at Motor One Podcast, which is our YouTube account, motor1podcast.com, that you can send us emails there. You can send us emails there. I'm sorry. And you can comment to the post that we put up every week on motor1.com. Every Friday, it usually goes up between 10 and 11 o'clock, kind of depending on how things go. But yeah, we love your comments. We love your questions. We love answering your questions. And it's just great doing the show for you guys. So thank you very much.
We'll see you, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.